everybody, it's time for the last video in this axle revamp series. I was actually so excited to dive into the work and get the axle back on the truck that I forgot to film an intro video before I started. So I'm filming this video after the fact, or filming this intro after the fact. And while I'm not going to spoil anything, hopefully you can tell by the smile on my face and the fact that I'm filming it from inside the truck that things went pretty well. So there's a lot of work in this video, a lot of footage. I'm trying to condense it as much as I can, but it's the longest video of the series for sure. So sit back and enjoy the work, and let's dive right in. Alright, it has come time for my favorite part. We're about to rip all the rust off this axle. We're set up in this back bay area so we won't bug anyone with all the dust flying around. We're going to start with the good old wire wheel. These things really get into the pitting pretty well. And then we'll finish up with a paddle wheel, or a paddle sanding wheel. Probably one a little fresher than this. Now that I've cleaned off the backing plates, I have to take these shock mounts off as well. I need to cut them off. I figured, I have some new ones coming in, I figured it was easier to just weld new ones on at 8 degrees rotation than it was to just cut these off, try to re-profile them, and weld them back on. So, I'm going to chop them off and clean up the axle tube. So I've done a preliminary cleanup of the axle. I've wire brushed, I've paddle sanded, and I've used surface cleaner to get off any of the rust, dust, or the dirt, or the grime, or whatever. So we've got a pretty clean surface to paint on. I'm not going to paint the axle yet. I still have to weld the shock mounts on. However, I am going to prepare to weld the bash plate on. I don't want to just weld the bash plate on the rear diff cover. Because there will be a minuscule gap between the bash plate itself and the rear diff cover. I can't cover this surface once the bash plate is welded on. It will just be bare metal on bare metal, and as we know, water might get trapped in there and start the rusting all over again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Rust-Oleum rust reformer. This, like many other products, is a chemical or a variety of chemicals that adhere to rust and neutralize it so that it doesn't progress any further. It creates a stable, non-oxidizing surface. These are not fix-it-all products. I see many people just spray this on tons of rust and expect it to be perfect and never rust again. That's not what they do. You need to get rust off as best you possibly can if you actually want it to stop, through wire brushing, bead blasting, paddle sanding, whatever. However, there's so much pitting on this axle, not so much, but there's a decent amount of pitting on this axle, and while I've wire brushed the crap out of it, and I believe that of the rust is gone. There's still probably little bits in there. And I'm going to use this to neutralize just tiny amounts of rust, and also use it as a covering of the rear diff cover as I weld the bash plate on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint this on, let it dry, let it do its thing, fit the bash plate, wire brush around the bash plate so that I can get a clean weld, and then once the bash plate's on there, it won't be bare metal on bare metal. So now that I have most of the welding done and the axle's pretty clean, it's time to bend some new brake line for this thing. So what I've gone ahead and bought is a bunch of different lengths of this pre-flared 3/16" brake line from Low Range Off-Road. It comes pre-flared, and it also has pre-installed M10x1 fittings, which are the Toyota size. I have a bunch of different lengths because I don't know exactly what I'm going to use. But what I'm going to do is first measure, but then my routing is going to look like, from this side I'm going to come down underneath the spring perch out enough that I can get a U-bolt through, probably up and over the shock mount, follow the curve of the differential, and then right up into here. This is where my T is going to be. And then from the other side, same sort of deal, down underneath the spring perch, come out a little so I can get the U-bolts through, up and over the shock mount, same deal. Alright guys, I'm psyched. It's finally time to paint this thing. I've cleaned it up as best I possibly can. I've wire brushed it for a couple more hours. I've used multiple chemicals to clean the surface and get off all the rust I can see. And I think I've done a pretty good job. It is bare metal. And however, there's pitting and seams that I can't quite get to, or old welds or something that harbor just a tiny bit of minuscule rust. So what we're going to do before we prime it is we're going to use rust reformer again, and that's again, it's just like any other rust converter. It uses an acid or a polymer or something to convert oxidation to a stable paintable surface. I think it's a good first step because it'll hopefully shut down any of that rusting process, and I won't just seal it into the paint. Spray a couple coats of this stuff on first, maybe 2 or 3. Let it dry for 24 hours, then prime. Then I'm going to show you what I'm going to top coat it with. Alright, primer's finally dry and it's time for the top coat. I'm going to use something I've never used before, which is Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement. It's supposed to be a really hard paint when it cures, and it goes on really viscous as well. And it takes a really long time to cure this. It's 24 hours for full cure, but I've read even longer if your conditions aren't perfect. But I'm really excited because it's supposed to be a really resilient paint, really rust resistant, and resistant to weather and chipping and all that sort of thing. So this thing can sit all weekend, so I'm going to lay on a few coats now, and hopefully by the time I come back Monday morning, we're going to have a really nice cured paint to finish off this project. Alright, the paint is all cured and I could not be happier with the finish. It is exactly what it is advertised to be. It's a very hard, low gloss finish. I think it'll hold up really, really well to the abuse it's going to get put through. Next step is I'm actually going to take off this little bent sheet metal guard for the locker and repaint that as well. And I'm also going to paint the brake lines. Here is the stock e-locker cover after some sandblasting. Man, does it look good. You want good looking parts, you gotta bead blast or sandblast. They come out looking really, really nice. Let's paint it. Check this thing out. It looks awesome. Came out really, really nice. I brought it over here because the lighting was a little better and I really wanted you to see how nice this Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement lays on there and cures. It's really, really nice finish, very hard, and looks brand new. But I also wanted to show you, so Toyota trucks with the lockers come stock with this little, it's a little guard plate. It's not very thick and it wouldn't take a big hit, and it doesn't protect the bottom of the locker. At the end of the day, that locker is about $500 to replace. So what I picked up was one of these from Marlin Crawler. This is their Toyota e-locker bash plate, skid plate, whatever you want to call it, but it is nice. It wraps up around the motor and there's a lot more beef there. It's also zinc plated. So this thing should take some abuse, should protect a very expensive little motor slash actuator, and I'm very happy with the quality of that piece. So we're going to bolt both of these on. Oh, and if you guys are curious, we're on the hood of a Humvee right now. This thing's pretty sweet. But yeah, so we're going to bolt both these things on there, and I think that locker is going to be well protected. that is one good looking, well protected E-locker assembly. Nice. Alright, because I welded on the axle and differential cover while it was filled with oil, I'm going to go ahead and assume that that oil is toast. It's going to be overheated, burnt, and needs to be changed. And it could probably use an oil change regardless. So I went ahead and got nothing fancy, but some Lucas full synthetic 75 weight 90 gear oil, and we're going to install that. Finally time to pack this thing up and get it out of here. I'm going to attempt to bubble wrap it a little bit, which might seem silly, but I don't know. I'm okay with the trail dinging this thing up, but I prefer my truck bed doesn't before I even install it. So see if we can protect my beautiful new finish just a little bit. have it, guys. The axle revamp from start to finish. I just took it for a test drive and I couldn't be happier. It's smooth as silk. All the driveline angles seem great. The U-joints seem happy, and the axle looks awesome. It's got a little more armor on it, so it'll be a little more robust, and my U-joints will last longer. So yeah, I'm very happy with how this project concluded, and I hope you all enjoyed watching the series. I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you maybe you'll throw me a subscription and comment if you liked it or didn't like it, or if I missed a trick that I should have known. I'm always eager to learn more, but overall I think it turned out really well. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon.